Top, merci. Alright guys, so it's been a minute since I've been on here with my content, so a lot has changed in the last couple of weeks. I've been kind of under the radar. So I am in Kenya, so I think this is the main news for 2025. I've decided to move to Kenya until further notice. I don't know how long I'll be here for, but for the time being, Kenya just seems to work. So I guess a lot of you are wondering, if you move to Kenya, what does that say about your businesses in DRC? I'm still going to be in DRC. So I'm not sure what that's going to look like, but being in Kenya was actually quite strategic. So Kenya is a 3.5-hour flight direct to Kinshasa. So since I've been here the last 2 months, I've actually been in Kinshasa like 3 times already. And communication with my team is great because Nairobi is 2 hours ahead of Kinshasa. So when I wake up, I get work done. And by the time my team is in the office and in the field, I'm able to tackle a lot of work, online meetings. Before leaving, I made sure that every location we have in our agriculture business, we have Wi-Fi, so there's no excuse for my team to not attend online meetings, and I kept my team very small so I can easily manage them, and a lot of documentation. So before we pay something, we spend something, it's always documented. Before we leave recently my staff, one of them, he asked me to leave the farm for like 5 days. He had to document those days, sign off. So I put in place all those things before I was comfortable leaving Congo on a part-time basis. And I guess a lot of you are wondering, Noemi, why? Because your business are just starting to take off. What was the decision behind you wanting to leave the DRC? So a huge reason why I decided to leave, there's so many reasons, and I just want to be clear, still have my business to DRC, still have this ambition of being like the #1 honey out of Congo, exporting towards the rest of the world. Sorry, my coffee. I literally came to Kenya with like 20 bags of Congolese coffee. I'm not a fan of Kenyan coffee. But I think there were so many reasons that just in the DRC, honestly, you guys, I was just not happy. I'm in my early 30s now, very ambitious. I'm doing all these cool things. But Congo is just very unhealthy environment. Especially Kinshasa. I've lived in Bukavu before, love Bukavu. I actually enjoy being in Bandundu. But both area, Bukavu right now we can't because too much instability. Bandundu, my farm, I'm still developing it. I enjoy restaurants. I enjoy being in an environment where pharmacy is accessible, with all these things. But my farm, I'm building from scratch a lot of things, even things like roads, right? So I think Congo, it was just like Kinshasa is the most developed, and it's such a chaotic environment. Like you're sitting in traffic for hours, you're dealing with hostile people, and it's not to generalize our own kind. I don't want to like trash my own people, but it's not an easy country. Of course people are going to be hostile, of course people are going to be bitter, of course people are going to be angry. Like you would be too if you're sitting in 3 hour traffic, you're turning on the television, it's always some stupidity that politicians are up to. And oh my god, everybody is into politics. I don't even like politics, but when you do business in the African continent, you bet your ass, sorry for my language, you have to care about politics because it affects your business. And I just think that like everybody around is so high temperament, and I am too. Like, let's not get it twisted. Like, I'm Congolese, Kinshasa born. I'm a very tempered person by nature, and I realized I don't do well in intense environments like Kinshasa. I do better in an environment that's more calm. That way, I'm able to think clearly. I'm able to think wisely, strategically, and well, rather than acting out of impulse, out of anger, out of just annoyance, which is what I became in Kinshasa. Like, you didn't see a lot of this in my videos, but my day to day, I was so irritable. I was losing it on everyone. And I just didn't understand what was happening to me because in Canada, in California, I'm such a happy, jolly person. Here I am losing it all the time. And you're in an environment where if you don't show anger, you're not respected. Like you, people sometimes want you to lose it on them in order for you to respect them. And I was like, no, that's not okay. So that was one of the main reasons why I decided to make the move to Kenya, while still running my businesses in a DRC. So, what does it look like? What's next on my channel? So, a few things that are going to change for my channel. So, one of the reasons why I started the channel was kind of like a diary, kind of like a journaling as I'm evolving. And if you saw my first video almost 2 years ago, I was in California, like, oh, I'm so bored. Like, I don't know what to do next. And then I moved to Congo. And in Congo, I'm like, oh, I don't know if this is for me. And now I'm in Kenya. So, I think for me, this chapter of my life, I like to live life by seasons. I hate this pressure we put on ourselves to feel like I need to figure out the rest of my life right now. Like I've never been that girl. That's just not who I am, and I'm not gonna be that girl. But I think for me, the current chapter of my life where I am at, I'm gonna give Kenya a bit of time. They always say, sorry, psychologists always say, give it at least a year. That way you find a community, have a foot in, I'll see how things go. But I think I'll give Kenya a go and always have a foot into the DRC. And the focus for me right now, it's a lot of character development that I think are gonna set me up for the future and help me succeed in my businesses. I think number one, I really wanna stop this habit of whenever my businesses don't take off, don't scale as fast as I want, I get bored and I try to start a new business. Like, it's just not realistic. Like, you cannot build wealth, success when you do it that way. The first 2-3 years of a business, you're very unlikely to be lucrative. And I need to sit still. I need to learn to be consistent. And I think now that in DRC, the honey production, we've reached 120 hives planted at the farm, and I'm fighting for funding so that I can plant more hives and scale more. I think my focus with my honey is just to really build a brand around Congolese forest honey and sold and exported towards the Western market. And it's very simple. Why? Is because in Congo, realistically speaking, most underdeveloped countries or cultures don't really eat honey. Like honey is a specialty food. It's not a staple food, actually. It's a food usually consumed by more high income population. It doesn't mean that the poor cannot eat it. There's so much honey in Congo that goes to waste because people don't care for it. What people want is brown sugar Or in the West, usually Walmart, the low income groups eat white processed sugar because it's $1 for a huge bag. Whereas honey, it's like a little jar for $20. But that's okay. My dream is to really be the number one exporter of Congolese forest honey. And I really want to get into the beverage industry. There's so many drinks that you can make that are honey based that I'm working on. And I think for me, that's my focus. Like, I just want to be so obsessed with this honey business that it scales into the international market. And I think with the honey, I really, really, really want to advocate for agriculture. Like, the reality is, like, agriculture has always been and will always be a thing because humans have to eat. But DRC has incredible arable land that we don't talk about. And my focus really with my honey and my foundation that I just launched, Lubemba Foundation, there's a website coming up very soon, really just talk about the incredible sector of agriculture, talk about the incredible sector of climate change as I'm learning about it. Like, I'm learning so much in this space, the green space, energy, especially renewable energy. With the Congo River, there's just so much there that we could do. And all of this intertwines. And with honey, you have a lot of bees, right? Bees go into biodiversity, which is so important for our earth because bees eat the pollen and flowers, and it's really important for the earth. So I think with that being said, I really want to showcase the whole ecosystem of this agriculture climate space of the DRC to the world. And I want to be so obsessed with this honey that that's my focus right now. And I think for me, this is going to be my focus in terms of my honey business, really that. And yes, in Bandundu, full transparency, I do logistics and I'm building a depot as we speak. And one of my land, I'm going to give it to a group of women, a collective of women that are going to be planting maize, which we will sell to minoterie. Minoterie, I'm not sure what they're called. I don't know if it's breweries in English, but that's an incredible opportunity that's coming up and I hope it succeeds, and it's going to be a slow build, but really that's more for the local market. But internationally, my focus is really the honey and tap into the beverage industry and scale that. So I'm excited for that. So another reason why I also made the move to Kenya is really, along with the first point, is really for my mental health. Like, I think we don't talk about mental health enough. Culturally, Congolese people, we don't even talk about mental health because, let's be honest, when you come from a culture with deeply rooted history of traumas, poverty, mental health is not a priority. That's just a proven statistics. But I think for me, I do have the luxury to care about my mental health. I do have the luxury to care about my physical health. And I really had to take a step back and realize my health it's just deteriorating. And I'm only in my early 30s. Like, I don't sleep well. I have severe insomnia. Like, it's so bad that I now have to take medication in order to go to bed. I try melatonin, I try magnesium glycate. It helps me calm down at night, but it doesn't help me stay asleep. My thoughts are constantly racing. I recently got diagnosed with ADHD, which I wasn't surprised. Like, when my therapist told me I had ADHD, I was like, thank God. Like, yes, finally, I get to have a logical reason behind my behaviors and understand why I do what I do. So I'm so glad I got the diagnosis. And again, I'm so glad I have the luxury to afford such therapy sessions, to afford the medication, to afford going to the gym, to afford a tennis membership. And I just feel like part of the mental health journey is being in a healthy environment. And I feel like I talk about wanting to slow down. I talk about wanting to eat better, healthier. Although Congo, we have the richest soil in the world. Anyone that lives in Kinshasa, our food sucks. Kinshasa, the food is so bad now because you have all these grocery stores, 85% importing food. Really, the only time I eat really good organic food is when I go to my farm. The rest of the time, the food has become processed. So eating processed food, I love restaurants. Love restaurants. I'm guilty of this. Love restaurants. But let's be honest, a lot of restaurants, they're not in the business of organic eats, unless it's farm to table, which in Congo, we don't have that. But literally, I was going to all these restaurants, you're eating all this processed food, the alcohol in Kinshasa, whether it's wine, cocktails, unless it's South African wine, but the others, half of them, I don't even think half, I think like 90% of them are knockoff, literally fake alcohol imported into the country because there's no regulations to monitor whether or not it's real alcohol. So people just sell whatever they want and they get away with it because nobody checks. So you're constantly intaking all this toxic food into your body. And if you think it's not going to make an effect on your body, that's impossible. And don't even get me started on the pollution, on the noise, on the chaos. So I just feel like I'm still have my businesses in Congo. And I think maturity has allowed me to realize scaling a business takes time. I think it's another big one. It takes time. You talk to any person in Congo that's been now a millionaire, and I know quite a few, what they all have in common, they're like, Noemi, we've been in DRC since the 90s. And now we're in 2025. Like, these people have put in the years. And I think for me, it took failing many businesses to realize, like, I need to be patient. I need to take my time, which, by the way, it's point number 3. Like, growing a business takes time. I've failed many times. I've done businesses that can spot that just the market wasn't ready for it, nor did it need the product. And I think now I'm in agribusiness and agro commodity and a little bit of logistics in DRC and finally starting to look good. But it's going to take time. It's going to take time. I need to be patient. And I think I finally reached a point of my maturity where I'm realizing the game to this success thing in business is consistency, which requires patience. And I really think it's a matter of once you have that product market fit, what is this product or service that people are willing to pay for? Stop trying to be so creative, be the first one to innovate, blah, blah. No, this is a third world country. People need the necessity, and there's money in selling necessity and essentials. But the game of the rule of thumb is for you to be patient, consistent, and just show up and be honest and have integrity in a market where everything is informal and nothing is traced. Yeah, I think, and with that being said too, like, I still have so much ambition for Congo, and I think this is like the hard thing for any of us that have the diaspora, especially Africa. We reach this point where we live in the West, and the West is just tanking. Like, the US, I literally am no longer on social media. Like, a lot of you reach out to me to get in touch and I never respond, and I'm so sorry. It's actually my team that responds because I just cannot be on social media anymore. Like, I love creating content. I'm definitely a content creator. I love creating videos, pictures, sending a message. Like, I love that stuff. But I'm not the one to consume social media anymore because it was just affecting my mental health. You turn on the United States, it feels like all of us are getting involved in American politics when we don't want to because they're the most powerful country in the world. But really, it's just a mess. They're always trying to catch up to China and failing. Europe has been a mess for some time. And I think many Congolese folks and African folks, because of colonization, have immigrated to Europe. But they're now waking up to the reality that Europe is not it. Like, we've been sold this dream of immigrate, work hard, go to school, get a average paying job, and then be married, have kids, and get married. But reality is, what does it look like when an economy is so inflated? Inflated meaning the value of your currency is no longer holding and it's not able to meet your needs. Like, grocery shopping is too expensive. Paying the bills is too expensive. It constantly feels like we're a generation, especially in the northern sphere, that we're always struggling. Like, we're never making enough. And I think because of that, there's a huge flux and huge desire for the diaspora to move back to Africa, reconnect to our culture. And I think there is this sort of notion for many of us in the diaspora where we go online, we see, let's be honest, like, I'm very blunt and I don't shy away from my speech, but let's be honest, we see the Indians, we see the Lebanese, we see the whites coming to the African continent and succeeding. And we're like, I want to do that. And I think we should, because this is our continent. If we don't act in this continent, we cannot complain when other people are succeeding and when other people are building, which is something that I'm very big on. Don't complain when you're not doing anything about it. To be fair, if you look at history, we have been marginalized the longest in colonization if you compare us to other nations by far. And I think sometimes I feel like I don't want to use that as an excuse. It's taking us a little longer to develop as people internationally. But that being said, I think what we don't talk about is how a lot of us at the diaspora, when we move back to the African continent, we tackle businesses that are not, sorry, we tackle businesses that are not meeting demand. And I've talked about this in my other videos. And that's just a recipe for disaster, where you're coming in from Belgium, from France, thinking that will work there will work in Congo. That's just stupid. Whereas other cultures, for some weird reason, when they come to our countries, they're able to just observe, understand behaviors of consumers, and give them what they want and remove the bias. Kind of like Merciers. They're not coming there to help. They're coming to make money. So if that's your motivation, you're just going to give people what they want and what they're paying for. You're not going to involve your biases or have any emotional involvement. Whether that's good or bad. And I think another big thing we don't talk about enough as diaspora, when we come to the African continent, we don't have the support that these other communities have. I talk about the Indian culture quite often because it's such a huge population around the world, but it's very admirable. Wherever they go, they always find their tribe. Whether or not that's a good thing, that's not the point. The point that I'm trying to say is like they always find their people. They always work with their people. On the outside, they may hire a Congolese person in Kinshasa to work for them as a maid or as a sort of like salon worker. But make no mistake, their software is owned by the people. Their accountant, their people. All these things, their people. And so I think as Africans and Congolese, I can only speak on Congo, we really have a long way to go in that regard. And I think sometimes the diaspora, we struggle with that when we move back home. And I think for me, that was a huge struggle in Congo, where I feel like I just went through some weird identity crisis where I identify as Congolese. A lot of my ways, especially Kinshasa, we have to say specifically Kinshasa, we're our own breed. My energy, my love for life, my love for fashion, very Congolese of me. But at the same time, you grow up in Canada, you lived in California, where you identify more to those lifestyle than you identify to your own. And I think business-wise, my gosh, doing business in Congo, where you come from Western economies where everything works. Let's be honest. Yeah, there's corruption, but if you're middle upper class, you're not aware of those dynamics. And if you're in the US, you open a business, a lifestyle business, and you have a good community, there's high chance that it may succeed. Whereas in Congo, you come, people don't honor their word, people don't respect time. You're dealing with a very corrupted economy, and you don't have a community to fall back on. And some Congolese people don't even have family to support them. Like, I've heard some weird stories. Like, some of my guy friends, their own dads are competing against them. Like, can you imagine your own father competing against you? I'm very lucky I don't have that issue, but it's not easy. And I think a huge struggle I had in Congo, but that turned into a positive, is this idea that, okay, I am here. Let me reconnect to my roots. Let me understand my culture. Let me understand our history. Like, I spent the last couple months reading books on the history of Africa, understanding Congo from 1960 independence, Katanga in the mining area, Bandundu, we were known for scholars, but by the time we got independence, we only had 17 educated people in the country? That's insane. And our independence, unlike Cote d'Ivoire, was very abrupt. So you have this abrupt of independence. You have these folks that are not the most educated now running the country. And since Mobutu's leadership to date, it seems like we keep repeating the same mistake, if not worse. I've always said the only advantage Mobutu had is that he was a leader right after independence. So he benefited from some of the infrastructure that Belgium had left behind. But today, those infrastructure have not been sustained nor maintained. And look at the results. So I think I spent the last couple weeks really studying the history of Congo, understanding other African countries, because you see a lot of the same behaviors in the Black African population as you travel throughout Africa. And it helped me be more empathetic. It helped me be more in tune with my own culture, be proud to be Congolese. I make sure that at least twice or three times a week, I eat my pundu and my good chicken with mwamb, and I'm very good at cooking it. And I really make sure that even when I'm in Kenya, to always tip the Kenyans, to always trying to speak Swahili, because Swahilis have Bantu, have Arabic. So really have that pride. And for that, I'm very happy and I'm very proud that I went through that. And it took me living in Congo to accept this sense of identity. I am Congolese. Yeah, I've lived in Canada. Yeah, I lived in California. But I'm Congolese at the end of the day. It's okay that I identify as Canadian, whatever that means, but I'm Congolese and I should be proud of that. And that pride is what drives my businesses. It's what helps me be empathetic towards Congolese people that work for me. It's what helps me have this drive of like, no, I am going to pay my staff well. It's okay if I don't get paid for 6 months. But as long as my staff is well paid and I respect them and I let them have professional development and I continue to fight for grants and investment funds to scale my businesses so that these people can have better lives. And that can only come for having a love of your own people. And for that, I'm proud that I got to live in Congo and then I still have a foot in. And this is why I decided that I was not ready to move back to the West. I could move to California, honey. I have an American visa, make no mistake, and I have a Canadian passport. But I'm like, I'm not done with Africa yet. I'm not done yet. I'm not done with Africa yet. I'm not done with Congo yet. And I think living in Kenya, it's going to be an incredible journey. And I think what Kenya is doing in terms of development is amazing. And I get to learn a lot and take some of these ideas and test them in Congo. And let's not forget, Congo is now part of the East Africa Community Coalition. So let's see if there's some leverage of funding that I could do with that regard. And I think part of the channel this time around that I'm really excited for, and I really hope this will be exciting for many of you, because a lot of you, I think, as you follow my channel, you enjoy the transparency that I have with building a business and building a business in Congo, but that's also international. So I think for me, that's going to be a huge focus this year, is like take you guys through that journey of how do you build an international agro-commodity business? Like, how do you produce in a DRC, export towards the West? How do you deal with pricing? How do you deal with suppliers? How do you deal with storing your items in the West? Marketing. I really want to take you guys through that journey. And this way, many of you can do it in your own way. Like, call me hippie, but I just think there's so much space for all of us in this. Like, I want to see more Congolese people do international businesses. Call me crazy. I don't think everybody should be an entrepreneur. It's not for everyone. But I believe that there's more space for some of us to enter. It should not just be me. Like, I want to see more Congolese people in this space, and I want us to like support each other. I want us to work together. I believe it's possible. I really do. And so part of my channel this year is to take you guys through that journey so that you're able to know how to navigate this space. And that's a huge reason why I started my podcast. So with the podcast, I saw the response, incredible response on LinkedIn, on YouTube. People have been emailing me. I'm so glad that you guys are loving it. And so many more episodes coming up. I'm going to be interviewing entrepreneurs throughout the African continent, not just Congo, but I'll try to have a big emphasis on DRC. But the reason why I also started this podcast is not only to shine the light on African founders, but it's for some of you to just understand and learn these dynamics and just be raw. As you saw on my channel, I'll talk about corruption. And one thing I really want to start with my podcast is something called Business in Congo series. So my podcast will be twofold. I will interview founders, but I'm also going to have these like mini series where I talk directly to you about what I've learned about doing business in Congo and just be raw. Like, talk to you about corruption, talk to you about not always documenting everything, because if you do, you're screwing yourself over. So I think I'm super excited to take you guys through that journey of growing this business, what I'm learning. And please keep the comments coming. Please keep the emails coming, because it allows me to understand what you need and how do I tailor my content towards your need, right? Because if I don't really meet your need, as much as I love creating content, it has to be purposeful, right? So please keep the engagement going, share it with your peers who you know will benefit from this kind of content, and let's keep the conversation going. Lastly, but least, I think a huge thing with me moving to Kenya that's going to be really good for me in terms of slowing down is that it's going to give me time to really get the creative juices flowing. And I think a lot of you have been sending me emails, have sent me messages on LinkedIn. And again, I'm so sorry for not always responding. I'm so sorry for not always making the time to chat with some of you. It's not that I think I'm better. It's not that I think I'm like high or mighty, but unfortunately time is scarce. Like I really just don't have that much time. And when I do have time, I do have to take care of my body and rest and spend time with family and friends who I barely see sometimes. But through my assistant, sorry, she sent me a lot of your messages of what you need. And I've realized a lot of you, especially Congolese folks that are in the West and really want to tap into the African market and business, have the similar questions, like so many similar questions. And so what I'm going to launch, and please stay tuned, on my podcast channel, I'm going to create like a link where you guys can subscribe to like a newsletter. It's going to be a newsletter where I give you guys insight on top of the podcast, because some people love video, some people like audio, which is what Spotify and iTunes is for. YouTube is for videos, so is TikTok. But I think some of you like the writing style. So what I'm gonna launch actually is a book. This is not really a book, but it's kind of like a notebook, I should say. It's a notebook. Pretty much, I took a business plan, I customized it to the context of Congo, which, by the way, applies to a lot of sub-Saharan Africa. Although Congo, I have to say, culturally, we're a very unique market, I would say. What worked in Ghana, I don't think will necessarily work in the DRC. But for the most part, this notebook will be kind of like a productivity hack of business, and it's going to be very affordable. I'm going to make it as cheap as like 10, 15 bucks. I'm still deciding on the price. It's going to be a physical book. Unfortunately, I'll have to start selling it in the US online, and I'm still trying to figure out European fulfillment center, which are warehouses where you can store your products and they handle all your delivery and online sales. So if some of you are in France, Belgium, Germany, Netherlands, know a lot of fulfillment centers where I can hook my Shopify website to, please share in the comments below. I would really appreciate it. But this book will really help a lot of you, because a lot of you have the same questions. Like a lot of you are battling with, my family has land in Congo. We want to explore it, but what do we do? I'm still in the West. I have a job and I want to move back, but I don't know if I do because it's too risky. But like, I'll take all these questions and just put it into a book, and then it's going to allow you to work through your business ideas. And I'm going to even share with you some of the network that I have of lawyers, of people in cadastre. Cadastre are like people that handle like land, to make sure that when you're trying to buy land, you're not getting duped by some guy selling land to like 3 people. So all those things, I'll put it in a notebook that's going to be like a productivity hack and very affordable. And that way it helps you through your ideas, and it helps you be productive and realistic. And I really think that, yeah, it's going to be an exciting year. It's really exciting. But really, like I said, my goal this year is just to be more focused, more consistent, to slow down and just focus on producing as much Congolese honey as I can and just selling it throughout the world. So stay tuned, and thank you for joining me on this journey all the last couple years. And I know I've not always been consistent in posting, but this year I really want to get better at that. And my solution is just to outsource. I've noticed that when I get people to do my video editing, video recording, I deliver way quicker and more consistent. And I need to use more tools like apps to automate the post. That way I'm not like manually doing it myself, because then I'm not consistent. So stay tuned. It's an exciting time. I'm still doing business in Congo, although I'll be living in Kenya most of the time. And join me as I'm going to expos and trying to sell my honey, and I'll take you through that journey. Bye, guys.